it's actually the best decision I ever made was to move here, and once I moved here, worked for 15 years, now I've retired here and I'm not going to move. This is where I belong, because the friendships you build in Cambodia last for a lifetime.
So good morning, Mr. Andy Brouwer, and thank you so much, sir, for granting Cambodianess once again for the interview in SIEM REAP city, sir. Mr. Andy Brouwer, you have been working in Cambodia for 15 years, but before that you have came to Cambodia for many times since the 1990s, exploring different part of Cambodia, meeting different people, and also you learned a lot about the history of Cambodia in terms of its glory in the distant past and also its recent history during the war.
Sure.
And the nation building afterward. And you have also after working for 15 years, now you begin to retire in Cambodia, sir. So my first question, just to give to have a general idea, as a foreigner, as an expat living in Cambodia, what does it mean to retire? To retire, is it to come and then just to relax, to enjoy nature? Or your idea of retirement is you come to enjoy the nature but at the same time have something to do? In general, sir, what is your idea toward retirement?
I think for me, I worked for 15 years in Cambodia, and I've been retired for 4 years. At the end of the 15 years, I could have decided to go back to England, where I'm from, but I had no real desire to return to England. I've only been to England 3 times in the last 20 years. So I've retired for 4 years, and for me, my retirement is to relax after more than 45 years in full-time employment, is to relax, but to try and give something back. And in terms of that, I spend a lot of my time researching history and art of Cambodia and doing social media posts about that. And I've been in the country for many years, but I don't want to take advantage of that situation, so I try to give something back. And I find actually that a lot of Cambodians, the feedback I get is fantastic, and the interaction with a lot of Cambodians is very satisfying. I hope for them, but it certainly is for me.
So your idea of retirement is not to completely do nothing, but at the same time, do something that makes people feel like, okay, you still contribute back to the nation. Is that what you mean, sir?
That's exactly right. I can't just sit and do nothing, or sit in a bar drinking beer. I don't even drink beer, so I can't even go to a bar and drink beer. I would say that some expats, yeah, that's their preference, is to sit and do nothing. I can't do that. I really enjoy researching. I really enjoy investigating things, and for me, that's an integral part of the retirement in Cambodia. Is, as I said, I worked for 15 years. I had a job in tourism and film and television, but I feel that now that I've stopped working every day, I still want to keep active, and giving something back by way of my social media posts and my investigations, my research is what I can do. I can't do other tasks like teach or mentor people, but I can do research and investigate history and art, and I love to do it.
Yes, Mr. Andy. But for example, how would you recommend Cambodia as a place for retirement, for example, to your acquaintances or maybe your friends who are, let's say in the future, 10 years from now, they are going to retire at their 60s or something like that. How do you, let's say, maybe not to convince, but to give them advice, why should they come to Cambodia, for example?
Sure. I would encourage everybody to visit Cambodia. I wouldn't say it's everybody's ideal place to retire. It is for me, because I've had an intense interest in Cambodia and its history and art for decades. I've been coming for 32 years. So for me, it's ideal. For others, they need to come and have a look, I think, for themselves. It has a bit of everything. It's extremely comfortable. It's not expensive. There's so much to do, both if you want to, as part of your retirement, if you want to help other people, mentor people, humanitarian type experiences. But for me, it's the perfect place. I'm surrounded by history. SIEM REAP, what a place to be retired in. You know, on the doorstep of a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's amazing. There are so many temples. There's so much to get your teeth into. And as a researcher and a historian, that's the type of thing I love. So, as I said, Cambodia for me, perfect. Not necessarily for everybody else, but come and have a look. See for yourself. I think the main attraction, as I've always said, I think, is the people. Once you meet the Cambodian people, I think it's going to click. You know, you're going to see what a great place it is and what a great people they are.
Can you give some example, you know, your encounter with Khmer people or Cambodian people that, you know, that makes a very deep impression in your emotions?
Sure. I've many examples. Wow, where do I start? Even on the first time I came in 1994, my first visit, I met the guide, and we've remained in touch ever since. And that's been the same wherever I've gone in Cambodia. I've travelled extensively around Cambodia. I used to come every year from England and go out into the provinces looking for ancient temples. So I would stay with families. I would stay with people in far remote places of Cambodia and build friendships, and I would go back again to see them, because the friendships you build in Cambodia last for a lifetime. So for example, one of the girls who sells souvenirs at Angkor Wat, she was like, I think it was 1996 or 7, she was 12 years old, absolutely adorable. And every time, because I came back every year, I would come back, make sure I saw her, I knew her family, I would take her family out for a meal, they would take me for a trip up to Phnom Kulen, for example, and she's still selling souvenirs at Angkor Wat. Now she's got 5 children, married with 5 children, and that's just one example. There are so many more examples of people who I've met, and I've got long-lasting friendships with. So, as I said, the real treasure of Cambodia isn't necessarily the temples, it's the people.
Yes, Mr. Andy, but just now you mentioned the word comfortable in terms of living. By that, do you mean about the weather, the food, or maybe you know, the general layout of the city? You can go anywhere easily by motorbike, something like that. Can you give you know, your meaning of the word comfortable living in Cambodia, Mr. Andy?
Sure. For me, comfortable is all of those things. It's having everything at hand, and SIEM REAP and Phnom Penh in Cambodia, you have basically everything at hand that you would need. In terms of the weather, it's hot. Be prepared.
Hot and humid at the same time.
Hot and humid. Yep. Be prepared. April, everybody stays indoors, I think, because it's so hot. But that's okay. You don't have to be in the sun all day long. Yeah, the weather is hot, but if it rains, it only rains usually for an hour or so. It's quite straightforward, not a problem. The food is lovely. The food is fantastic. I eat Cambodian food on a regular basis. Not every day, because I like to change my diet and change it around, but I eat Cambodian food. Cambodian chicken curry, to die for. It's the best. That's my personal favorite. I think comfortability is also where you live. So if you find the right area to live in, I've lived in the same area for all of the near 20 years that I've lived here. So I found the right area for me. Everything's on my doorstep. I've got a nice flat. I live on the first floor with the family on the ground floor, and we've had a fantastic relationship for 20 years. Again, as I said before, it's the relationships that also matter and make you comfortable. And I think for me, it's very, very comfortable. I'm very, very happy. It's actually the best decision I ever made was to move here. And once I moved here, worked for 15 years, now I've retired here and I'm not going to move. This is where I belong.
Yes, Mr. Andy. But for example, for retirees who wish to, to stay longer in Cambodia and not, to bore themselves, for example, is there any hobby or maybe job that you think, they can do in order to, at the same time make a small living, for day-to-day spending, but at the same time, to also relax in the nature of Siem Reap or other provinces? Is there any hobby or job that you would recommend them or maybe just give advice to them before they come, sir?
Yes, Cambodia is a place where they will welcome your expertise and your input and your help and support, whether it's for mentoring. If you're from a professional background and you're able to mentor people, whether it might be accounting, it might be business practice, anything like that, then Cambodians will welcome that mentoring aspect. The same with teaching. If you're from a teaching background, again, Cambodia welcomes experts, and there's a lot of scope for teaching. Not just teaching English, but teaching lots of things. Whether it could be sport, for example. I'm very keen on football. I'm very keen on sport, and I actually worked for a couple of years with a professional football team in Cambodia, and most of the coaches are foreign, but they come to give what they know to the Cambodians so the Cambodians can take over. So now, when I first started at the football club in 2010, the coaches were foreign. Now most of the coaches, apart from the main coach, are Cambodian. So they've progressed, and it's because of the mentoring and the teaching that they got from foreigners. That's not necessarily for retirees. Retirees, again, you need to keep active. You need to keep your brain active. I do it by research. Other people have other ways that they can do it. I also exercise, make sure that I get out there and do some exercise. Not like I used to. I used to play a lot of football, but now it's walking. But there's lots of opportunity for that type of thing. Five-a-side football. Cambodians love to keep fit. You can go down the park and do exercise with a gang of Cambodians. It's great fun. And there's lots of things to get involved with as a retiree, as long as you're able to put yourself in a position where you offer your support, and if you get turned down, okay, move on to the next one. Yeah, it's a great place to retire, and it's a great place to give back as well.
Yes, Mr. Andy. But most people, they mention Siem Reap is one of the best places in Siem Reap, in Cambodia to retire. But because you have been to many places in Cambodia.
Yep.
Do you think Kampot or maybe Kaip or maybe Mundulkiri or maybe a bit further to Battambang, besides Siem Reap, do you recommend other places where retiree can have a good relaxing job at the same time, enjoying their life?
Sure.
Yeah.
For retirees, Siem Reap, as I said, is probably the most obvious place because you've got Angkor on your doorstep and you've got easy access to other parts of Cambodia, especially the temples like in Prevahir province. You mentioned Battambang. Battambang is also a really special place and one that attracts the retirees. It's close to Thailand, but it also has its own charm, its own magic, very laid back, very calm and collected. A lot of people like Battambang. Phnom Penh I think Phnom Penh has everything. It's obviously Cambodia's major city as its capital, and it does literally have everything. And so that's really convenient. In terms of the south, you've got Kampot and Kep. There's a lot of retirees go to Kampot and Kep.
Because those are the seaside area.
Yeah.
Some of them they prefer, you know, the river and the lake.
Sure.
More than the mountain of Angkor.
Again, temples aren't everybody's cup of tea.
I know. Yeah.
But being by the seaside is, you know, is a real attractive factor for many people. Or being in a place like Kampot, which is more river, but it is close to the sea as well. So that attracts a lot of people, and there's a lot of retirees there as well. Again, further afield, very few retirees go and retire into the northeast regions, Ratanakiri, Mondulkiri. But you've got Krache, which is a nice laid-back place as well. There's various options around Cambodia. I think SIEM REAP and Phnom Penh are probably the two most attractive for different things. Phnom Penh, for example, it's a bigger city, so they've got more events like film shows, public exhibitions, art exhibitions, all those sorts of things. Museums. There's museums in actually most places these days, even provincial museums. So there's something to see, something to do, and I would recommend somebody who's thinking about retiring, come and have a look for yourself. Try a few days in each of the places to see what you think, whether you get a feel for the place, and if you do, then pick it, select it. You'll not make a better decision.
But how about, like, you know, buying food, buying grocery, and also cooking in Cambodia? So because you have been living here for many years, I think you're used to the Cambodian food. But for example, at the beginning of your stay, maybe the first 1 or 2 years of your stay, do you think the food and the way that Cambodian buy food is, you know, suitable for expat who is, you know, planning to come to Cambodia in the future?
I do think it's suitable. Cambodian food is fantastic.
Because, you know, here we do it, you know, on the street, you know,
Sure.
not a lot in supermarket, stuff like that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't need to eat from the street. The restaurants are, and there's a wide variety of restaurants. The restaurants are, cleanliness is a positive factor in most of the restaurants. On the street, not so much. I'm wary. I've lived here nearly 20 years. I'm wary of eating street food because, you know, you don't want to go down with stomach troubles.
Diarrhea, stuff like
Yeah,
that. Yeah,
but actually, I think everybody wants. I think maybe you need to get used to it as well. But that doesn't take long. Everything is nearly based around rice. That's a staple diet. But as I said, there's a wide variety of choice, whether it's Cambodian food, specifically Cambodian food, or whether it's various Western foods. I walked along a street in SIEM REAP yesterday, and there were 6 Indian restaurants within a throwing a ball distance of each other. You know, I was amazed. So you've got a wide variety of restaurants, lots of nationalities. I wouldn't worry about Cambodian food. It's tasty, and generally speaking, as I said, in the restaurants, the cleanliness factor is pretty good. Off the street, just be a bit careful.
Yes, Mr. Andy, for example, you know, because there are, in general, you know, because you have been here for many years, you know, the way that the mass media talks about Cambodia to the international audiences, and, you know, the thing that you see in Cambodia by your own eyes on the ground, is there any differences that you would like to clarify, sir?
I would say from a mass media perspective of reporting on Cambodia, they're looking for headlines, they're looking for sensationalization, whether it be the recent problems with Thailand or it might be the scam compounds that get a lot of media attention. These things do not occupy the minds or get in the way of anybody living in Cambodia, whether they're living in Siem Reap, Phnom Penh, Kampot, Battambang. You won't come into contact with A, any of the scam compounds, or B, the recent problems with Thailand. The only thing with Thailand is that in Siem Reap, for example, they had some of the refugees come and stay at some of the pagodas, and so you may have encountered that.
Many months ago, but for now,
yes,
the thing is okay. Yeah.
At the moment, everything is fine, although some refugees haven't been allowed to return to their home, which hopefully that will happen soon. But the media want headlines. That's what sells, not necessarily newspapers anymore, but that's what sells readership, viewership online. So they're looking for headlines. I used to work for media, albeit for sports media, so I understand the importance of headlines. But there's no correlation to the headline to what you experience on the ground. As a retiree, not affected whatsoever. I think what I am affected by is the fabulous welcome you get from everybody in Cambodia, and that's much more important than talking about scam compounds. Wow, that's very difficult to say actually, scam compounds on the border, which is out of everybody's reach.
And also, for example, so because you're from the Western Hemisphere, so do you think the flight, coming out and in and out of Cambodia is a more of a convenience for foreigners? When you hear their comment, or I need to transit over here and over there, do you think it is an obstacle for them, or they feel like, okay, this is just okay for them to proceed? So
I think everybody wants ease of travel, quickness of travel. Not everybody wants to spend a lot of time on an aeroplane. So direct flights to Cambodia, yes, would be welcome from all around the world, but it's not necessarily possible at this time. The finances of flying are such that it's difficult for operators to operate in that way. So transiting in, whether it's somewhere like Singapore, which I've always found to be a fantastic airport at Changi. I've always enjoyed transiting at Singapore, absolutely no problem. Transiting elsewhere, again, not usually a problem, but I think maybe in the future we'll have a lot more direct flights, but at the moment probably not as many as people would want. But I don't think that's a real hurdle to overcome in attracting people to come to Cambodia. Cambodia has so much to offer. I think it's the attraction and the pull of Cambodia that is the important part. People can spend a few more extra hours in transit or on a second flight to get to Cambodia.
Big deal, yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah. Yes, Mr. Andy. Maybe one of the last question also, because right now Cambodia is experiencing, a small, not a small, but quite a noticeable decline in, foreign, visitors coming from other places. And, maybe just your idea, because you have been working in the media sector also. Is there anything, let's say Cambodia should do in order to make itself more appealing to the visitors coming from Europe or maybe from America or something like that, sir? Beyond what we are doing right now?
I think for retirees, perhaps improving the medical provision of services here in Cambodia would be a bonus, rather than for really serious things having to leave the country to go to Thailand or Vietnam. I think that's one. I don't want Cambodia going down the avenue of increasing the visa fees to an extent that puts people off, especially for retirees. It's very convenient to retire in Cambodia. The money side is very good. The paperwork is hardly any, and so it makes it very easy for retirees to come and live in Cambodia. Other countries, not so easy. So that's a real attraction. One of the things that I find also that I wanted to add was if you stay here for 2 years, you get a free pass to Angkor. So you can visit the Angkor temples. I think that's a fantastic opportunity that the Cambodian government have given to retirees particularly, because they're here all the time. But anybody who's living here and working here for more than 2 years, you can get a free pass to Angkor. I think that's a fantastic thing. Again, if they could do that with things like the National Museum and other places like that, I think that would be a good idea as well. I think don't change too much. I think at the moment, especially for retirees, Cambodia is almost perfect. Keep it as it is. I haven't got any great desire to see improvements that would flood the country with people. I know that the visiting numbers are down on previous years, and that's a concern obviously, because there's a lot of people involved in the tourism industry. I used to work in the tourism industry myself, so I know that. But I think it will recover in line with the recovery in general around the world. Now that might not be in the next few months, it might take a while, but the world is up and down, up and down. I think we're in a down moment at this minute, but it will get better. So have no fear, it will get better.
Yes, Mr. Andy, and also your last advice, for example, for retiree who is looking to come to Cambodia, maybe they should visit Cambodia a few times first, just to get an idea of how the country is like, and then perhaps they can make decision later. So a few visits would be good for them before knowing the country and decided to move here, for example.
I think definitely one visit, but if you come on one visit, don't just come for a few days, come for a week or two and go to different locations. See for yourself, experience it for yourself, see what interests you. Everybody is different, everybody has their own particular interest. My interest is history and art, and so SIEM REAP, absolutely perfect. Phnom Penh as well, there's lots to see and do in Phnom Penh and nearby Phnom Penh. So Battambang, again, temples on your doorstep in Battambang, and the people are lovely too. So come and see for yourself. It doesn't need to be a few trips. You can find out a lot in one trip, but as long as you spend a few days in different locations, finding out for yourself, asking around, visiting different restaurants, visiting the shops. Think, what do I need when I'm at home? How can I find that? Where can I find that in Cambodia? And you'll find that you can find everything. It's not a third world country. It's much more of a country that has grown and continues to grow after a difficult past, but it's much more modern these days, and it's very welcoming.